Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the season might be a wash, but what about next year? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Hockey Writers Ink. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, sitting Mike's side, your co-host, SteelFlyers, a Philadelphia Flyers podcast starring yours truly and the writer extraordinaire, editor-in-chief of SteelFlyers.com, Mr. Lance Green. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I'm fired up. I'm fired up. Or should I say I'm flyered up?
I know that horrible pun was coming right there. I saw it coming.
Was it that predictable? Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah.
All right. Look,
There
were some good things that happened to the team, and then, well, not so good things that's happened to this team. And we're going to talk about some of those things, and we're also going to talk about some very mighty fine articles that our editor-in-chief, Mr. Lance Green, has posted in the last few weeks since we've been with you. We've had a lot of things going on here at Steel Flyers, and so we're sorry we haven't been with you in a little while, but we're back, and we're ready to rock. Here we go, folks. Episode number 118. This season might be a wash. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this season is a wash. But what about next year? Episode number 118. And Lance, I'm really excited because you wrote two great articles. And the first article that you talked about was last week when the Flyers were doing some really good things. They were on a 7-game point streak. You know what I mean? They were winning some games. Okay, they weren't necessarily winning games against Tampa Bay and Boston or anything like that, and they weren't beating top flight goalies or anything like that. I mean, but they put together a string of wins. Okay,
correct.
And so that, I mean, look, we knew that was gonna be eventually they were gonna have to start winning some games. I mean, at some point the system rolls and works, right?
Yeah, just leads into what has transpired in the last couple weeks, guys. A lot of the Flyers landscape, which we have been talking about needing to be done for years, is finally starting to take place. With the firing of Chuck Fletcher, the movement to hiring Danny Briere as the interim general manager. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
I do like some of the things. I do like some of the things that he was doing once he got hired as that special spot that he was made for him. But I do like where it's going. Dave Scott is stepping down, so that is another plus. So as bad as the team is right now, we're moving in the right direction.
That's the key phrase right there, Lance. You said it.
Mm-hmm.
Moving in the right direction. Because as this episode stated, this season is a wash, but what about next year? Look, this is not just a one-year situation here. It's just not. And the word rebuild was uttered by Danny Briere, the interim general manager. Yeah. And I was happy to hear him say that. And you know what, Lance? You also pointed out, too, that he did some things when he became the interim general manager, like bringing in a certain player that we'll talk about here in just a second, signing that player, and doing some other things that I was very impressed with what Danny Briere was able to do, and Chuck was sitting on his hands still, right? So, well, let's talk about that. What was the thing that Danny Briere did that you really liked?
Well, I really liked how he chose to really embrace that this team needs a rebuild, first off, and be able to come out and say that openly. And he's done numerous interviews since being named the interim general manager, and he's saying that, they're not going to tear everything down and trade every single player away and, everything like that. He's going to save certain pieces, and then he's going to, bring up the youth like he has been doing. And I really liked how guys like Tyson Forrester came up and had an amazing stretch of like 5 games. Very good player, very solid player there. 2020 first round pick, obviously. I think he scored 7 points in 8 games before being sent back down for the
I believe
playoff
2 goals,
run.
two goals and 6 assists or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Igor Zumulas has been brought up. Arison has been playing a little bit more in net, so you can see what he has. And recently they even brought up Ronnie Adard. I really like him as well. Big physical presence on the blue line that will stand people up at the blue line and not retreat.
Yes.
Something that the Flyers need. So, both Forrester and Attard made the AHL All-Star game. They've proven that they were deserving of coming up, and same with Zumala. He's been up and down for numerous years, and I think he's really coming into his own, and he needs a chance to play, needs some NHL ice time. So hopefully they'll continue somewhat on that trend, but it's tough because the Phantoms are, trying to make the playoffs, and they want to get him some playoff hockey. But I don't even know if Forrester needs that. I'd rather see him play NHL games and get some NHL experience. But who knows? But continue on in that. Danny Briere came in and he signed Emil Andre. And I really like, this prospect.
We were both high on him when he was drafted.
Yeah, I mean, he is a little small, and I was a little leery about that, how that would transition and all that stuff. But you can't knock the kid's talent.
Nope.
He does some pretty amazing things on that blue line, and he has since coming over and playing with the Phantoms now. Refreshing stuff, dances around that blue line, cycles that puck really well.
I like that first pass that he makes too out of the zone.
Yeah, he's pretty physical for his size, which is interesting to say the least. And he really lit up the World Juniors and stuff like that for Team Sweden. So I like a little European flavor coming over. I think the team has lacked that for quite some time now.
Agreed.
And maybe since Timonen really left the Flyers. So I think it offers something different to this landscape of things. And, just that winning streak, you saw all the young guys coming up and all the guys like Braun and some of these other players that need to be going after this season anyway. They should have never been brought back. But anyway, these guys were putting together a string of wins. Now, granted, most of the time they were playing against teams' backup goaltenders because they know the Flyers are, let's face it, an easy win this season. So
and some of the lower end teams too. They weren't necessarily playing the LAs and the Vegases and the Colorados. You know what I mean?
So in that same aspect, though, it really showed you and the fans that were very down in the dumps and looked very bleak for this future. It was able to maybe put something back into the fans and show them like, hey, we have stuff coming up the pike. Like, just give us a little bit of time. And it was refreshing. It was refreshing to watch Forrester come up with that NHL quality shot.
So exactly. I'm going to say this too about how the fans reacted to this. Right after or right during that streak is when they had the carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a lot of the broadcasters spoke of how it changed the attitude of the carnival because the team was in the middle of a winning streak. Everybody was feeling good, and it made the fans. It energized. Look, if you give the Flyers faithful a spark, if you just give them a little gleam,
Mm-hmm.
Just a little ember that burns, right? And a little whiff of flame comes. Philadelphia's jumping all over that. I mean, anything good happening to their team is always a positive thing. So it energized the fans, but I agree with you 100%. It showed exactly what could be in the future for the Flyers if things are done correctly. I think they may have held on to Fletcher 2 years too long, because now you've got the Sanheim, the Couturier, these ugly contracts now.
Elvis. Yeah.
Right. You've got some of these ugly contracts that you're not going to be able to get away from, and very few teams are going to have the capability to take on those types of contracts. Do you know what I mean? So I think this is a perfect segue into, now that we know what's what, who's going to go and who's going to stay. Do you know what I mean? I think we talked about this even before in a couple of shows back, that the Flyers are going to get better by subtraction first.
Mm-hmm.
They have to, because they have to get rid of some of this dead money, for one. And then number two, there's some restricted and unrestricted free agents that are going to pop up that at the end of this season that are going to need to be addressed. And there's a zillion holes in this team. So, Lance, you wrote an article and just posted the other day about the Flyers have been eliminated and now what? Right. So give me some inspiration on why this article was written.
Well, same kind of thing. As high as the Flyer fans were just a week or so ago, with all the kids up and all that, and it was looking, a little bit more happier times ahead. Here comes the downfall again. Reality sets back in as the kids go back down and they get eliminated yet again. There's going to be no playoff hockey for Philadelphia fans.
I have to be honest with you, Lance. When I heard that they were mathematically eliminated the other day, I was shocked to think that there was even a mathematical chance that they could still make it at this point in the season. I mean, we're in April now, and they're still mathematically available. All right.
So with that, I took the idea of, trying to go over not necessarily the guys that need to go, that have extended contracts, that I'm saying, they need to trade, Kevin Hayes, and they need to trade this guys with 4 or 5 years, or Sean Couturier needs to go because he's injured. Whatever, everybody's trying to spit out there on social media platforms and all that. That's all sounds good in theory, but it's not very probable.
Especially when some of these players that they're talking about have no movement clauses or have modified no movement clauses. So, yeah, you can talk about who we would like to see go, but in reality.
Yep. In reality, you have to look at who is really able to leave this franchise and give you a little bit of space. And those guys are, of course, 33-year-old James Van Riemsdyk, who's an unrestricted free agent. We couldn't get rid of him at the deadline. We got nothing for him, so he's going to walk, which is fine by me. Let him walk. And 36-year-old defenseman Justin Braun. I swear to goodness, if they bring this guy back, I am
changing my officially
officially burning all my Flyers jerseys. All right. We need to get younger. We need to get more experience to these younger guys. And Then I also took into the fact of who might need to come back. And a question in that is, in the unrestricted free agent realm, is Braden Lemieux, who they acquired at the deadline. I don't know about you, but I kind of like his game a little bit. I did like him with the Rangers. I thought he was okay. He's not going to blow anybody away. He is what he is. He's a fourth line player. He's an energy guy. He's physical. He'll drop the gloves every now and again. But I like him. I really like him. And really, he's a +5 since coming over to the Flyers. So he's not a defensive, person that is going to scare you every time you put him out on the ice that you're calling him back as soon as he gets out there. He's pretty good defensively as well. So the key point is he's 27 years old. He's already making $1.35 million. Do you sign a guy like that back and spend that kind of money when the Flyers don't have a lot of cap space anyway? Or do you let him go and try to get somebody cheaper?
Yeah, see, that's going to be the big major issue here, because we know about the big uglies.
Right.
The big ugly contracts. Well, those are so glaring, they're ridiculous. But see, you gotta grab the low hanging fruit first, and you gotta grab the things that are gonna do improvements. Maybe not today, but maybe down the road. You gotta have some of that big picture in mind. Do you know what I'm saying? And I 110% agree that of the free agents that are going to be available, I think Cam York has to be number one priority on your list.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You question bringing back guys like Lemieux because you don't have a lot of cap space, and you have so many restricted free agents this year, and guys like Cameron York, like you mentioned, who should be a priority for sure. Igor Zumala, Ronnie Attard, those three guys are supposed to be your future on defense. So let them be. Re-sign them and let them be your future, and stop signing these ancient defenders
Justin
that
Bronze.
used to be goods, the Justin Bronze of the world, right?
But see, here's the thing, though, Lance. Here's the thing that really kind of bothers me about this. You let these guys become unrestricted free agents, or restricted free agents, I'm sorry. But yet, the only one that you've really seen anything from is York. You haven't really seen Ronnie Attard. You haven't really seen Igor Zumala play much in the NHL.
Right.
You know what I mean? You've had these old guys that have been playing for a busted season, which doesn't make any sense. You already knew by December that this wasn't going to be, look, all I'm saying is that some of these guys I think should have been playing and giving you a look at.
Yes.
And giving you a look at what you got, because now you have to make a decision on these kids, and you haven't seen them play enough NHL game to try to offer them a NHL contract.
Well, that's very true. And I got a little flack when I called for it earlier in the season when they were doing so bad around the All-Star game. Right after the All-Star game, I said, you should be calling up these kids because of this right here. Everybody said, oh, it's too early. It's too early. No, it wasn't. Because you have Cameron York, you have Zumala, you have Ronnie to get signed on defense. Then you have Morgan Frost, Noah Cates, and Kiefer Bellows. Bellows is still a question. I don't think, it was great to try to see what he had, but in the end, let him go, or they're mathematically out of the playoffs. Let him play at the NHL level and see what he has so that you're sure. But like you were saying, why isn't Zumala playing? Why hasn't Ronnie been playing in the NHL so that you can see if they're worthy of bringing back? because this all stems like this. The Flyers' main problem for years now has been development. We know that. And with that same token, it's been holding on to prospects for way too long. And, they hold on to these guys and hold on to these guys and hold on to these guys for the past couple of years and hoping that they're going to turn out to be something, but they don't. And then, they get rid of them when they have absolutely nothing left to as far as a trade to come back. I mean, who did they get rid of? He was a 50-goal scorer in juniors recently. They got rid of him before the deadline there, and played for the Storm. And, he was drafted the same year Morgan Frost was. So really, like, let's go, guys. Like, get rid of who you're going to get rid of, because at the end of the day, the Flyers have some prospects ready. They have guys like Forrester, yes, and stuff like that, who's ready to come up, and Zumala. They have those guys ready, so why not bring them up? So at this point next season, you're already having a new crop of guys who are signed now, have that contract space to sign new guys to bring up that you have drafted, okay? You should be holding on to prospects for 5 or 6 years. I'm sorry. If the guy hasn't figured out it by 25, he's probably not going to figure it out. Or he's probably going to be a career AHLer.
Yeah.
And that's not what the AHL is about. It's about developing talent so that they're going to be pros, NHL players at some point. And, the Flyers have just, for years, filled the Phantoms roster with career AHL players. You need a couple of them to show.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
The young guys, the ropes, but not the whole darn team.
Yeah.
You got the Flyers have so many great unsigned prospects right now, and one of them, in my opinion, is Alex Gendron, and he's playing right now.
He's playing really well
in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League playoffs right now, and he's leading that tournament. In 4 games, he has 8 goals. All right, that's 2 goals a game he's scoring in the playoffs right now for a 7th-round pick that they drafted last year. All right, he finished the season with 55 goals this regular season. So this guy, who is unsigned, needs a roster spot. He needs to be able to be inked, because in my mind, he has nothing else to prove it in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He's 19 years old. What are you going to send him back for his 20th, his year 20?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, you know who we haven't even talked about yet? Bobby Brink.
Well,
I mean, he came back from injury and has been playing really well with the Phantoms. He has yet to sniff the NHL.
Yep.
What am I missing something?
If he's healthy, he needs to come.
Yeah.
He needs to come up. He's 21. He led the all NCAA last year in points. And, this year for the Phantoms, he's played in 36 games. He has 10 goals, 23 points. He was banged up a little bit. But why not, at this point, why not bring him up and let him play? If he's healthy, if he's fully healthy, bring him up and let him see what he's got. Because, there's so many. Like Jay O'Brien plays for Boston University, a former first-round pick. The Flyers haven't signed. Why? He just scored in the Frozen Four tonight. He's the past couple seasons he's been playing. Even though they lost.
But still. He
even though they
lost,
lost,
it was a
but
great goal. Oh my gosh.
He's still scored a beautiful goal, the redirection. He's been playing at a point per game level down there for the past couple seasons. Why not bring this kid up? And it's just a head scratcher on why they want to keep the guy, the German Rubestovs, around for so many years before giving up on them and stuff like that. So I just
Maybe
don't know.
Maybe that won't happen anymore now that Fletcher isn't here.
Well, hopefully not, because the Flyers have a great defenseman too, in Ethan Sampson. So he is signed, but this guy is also playing right now in the WHL playoffs, and he was a 2021 sixth round pick, and they did sign him, but he's still playing in juniors because of his age, but. He's a right-hand shot defenseman, guys. He's a right-hand shot defenseman who scored a point per game. He played in 60 games. He got 60 points. Okay, he's a plus defenseman, so he's good in the offensive zone. He's good in the defensive zone. There's guys that need to come up to the pro level next year. You need to clear house of these dead and dying prospects that haven't progressed and clear way for some new ones here, guys. These are the guys that have or are still showing promise, but need to come up as soon as they can. And, after they get eliminated from the playoffs, a guy like, Ethan should be up with the Flyers in my mind.
I agree, 100%.
He's already signed. Bring him up for a game or two at least and see what he's got before the season's over. What do you have to lose right now?
I mean, exactly. And that's the whole point of it right there. And this is the perfect time of year right now because teams are wrapping up. And if they're not in the playoffs or not in the Frozen Four, they're not playing. You know what I mean? And it's also like you talked about a whole list of guys that the Flyers could have snagged, when their college season ended. Ryan McAllister got to sign with the Florida Panthers. That could have been a guy that could have easily come in and helped the Flyers immediately. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody that you had on your list all got signed by teams that could have come into the Flyers and helped them immediately. Okay. Yeah. I don't get it. Okay. This is why it's so frustrating to watch this team, because it's like they look at this, it's like their eyes are covered. They don't see what's going. I mean, hey, look, we're not privy to the locker room and we're not privy to what's behind the closed doors. And all we can do is speculate because we can only report on what we see and what happens in front of us. We can only judge on that. We can only report on that. You know what I mean? And we don't see anything happen behind the closed doors. So we're speculating on some of this.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I wrote that article a couple of weeks ago, and
I know.
And, on your easy pickups for the Flyers that they could sign to immediately add to their depth chart. We've seen guys sign straight out of the NCAA once they were eliminated. Guys that I wrote about, like Hunter McCowan from Colorado College. He signed a deal. He was done playing, signed a deal the next day with Columbus, and was playing in the NHL and scored an assist his first game. All right, immediate help. And it didn't cost him anything but a contract. It didn't cost him a draft picks or anything like that. These are guys that they were never drafted and sign NHL deals. Jason Poulin for Western Michigan led the league in goals, I believe, this season. Was signed. I think he went to Colorado. If my mind.
And then Buffalo signed. I forget who Buffalo signed. They signed a goalie, I think.
Well, you had Jake Livingstone signed from Minnesota State, big defenseman. Ryan McAllister, like we've had on our Prospect shows before.
Watch.
Yep, Prospect Watch. We interviewed him earlier in the year. Great Brooks Bandit player from the AJHL.
Yeah.
He went to Western Michigan, had an amazing first year, was leading the whole NCAA in points at one time when we interviewed him this year. And he signed with Florida, an immediate depth addition, right? And guys
Lance,
that could play.
Hey, Lance, it's like we have an eye for this talent or something. You know what I mean? Like we just seem to pick these good kids, don't we?
Right. And I'll tell you what, the Flyers need to be watching this Final Four that's playing right now, because there's a couple of more prospects I wrote about from Quinnipiac that the Flyers should sign as soon as they are eliminated.
A certain goalie who was
Yes.
even in their midst
Right.
should be invited back.
No, should be offered a contract. They
Right
should. Danny
straight out.
Briere,
Yeah, here you
Danny
go.
Briere should be in
Come.
Tampa. Danny Briere should be in Tampa right now because they played
Yaniv
Michigan
Perez,
tonight.
That's who we're talking
Yep.
about from Quinnipiac.
Yeah, Yaniv
That kid
Perez
needs to be for Flyers.
who joined us on Prospect Watch as
Yep.
well this year. And, he's an amazing goaltender. I can't say enough good things about him. Led the past 2 seasons in goals against average, save percentage, shutouts. He's the real deal. The Flyers had him in development camp and let him walk. Didn't sign him this year. Even with Ivan Fedotov not coming over and everything else, they didn't choose to sign this guy to add depth. They chose to get out the guys that they did, and look where they are. So
I got to tell you something here, Lance. To be honest with you, if I'd have had my druthers, I'd have much rather had Pretzel back there backstopping all freaking day long than Sandstrom.
Yeah.
Give me a freaking break.
Yeah. Or a Troy Grossneck,
or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
What has he done this season? Where's he at?
Anyway.
That was, according to Chuck Fletcher, that was the big signing that could compete for the backup job and push Carter Hart, right?
Yeah. Pushing him where?
Yeah.
Pushing what is
not
he's pushing his goalie equipment over around to him. He's not pushing anything else anyway. So
not this guy who's killing it in the NCAA and will be an NHL starting goaltender, I think.
I agree. I agree. He's going to be one of those. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's like one of those diamonds in the rough that suddenly this team out of nowhere selects him and he becomes one of those great goals. I just see it for him. I just see it. Anyway. Well, Lance, I'll tell you what, my man, I think we got a really great show here. I know we haven't been here for a little while, but we got a lot of great stuff talking about here with the Flyers. There's a lot of things going on here with the Flyers. What's really, really funny and really ironic is that they're now starting to talk and say the things that Lance and I have been talking about for 3 years. They're now starting to say upper management and things of that nature, that they're cleaning house, and they're realizing that all these you see, if you guys were just listening to the show, the Hockey Writers Ink show, you'd be all set. You'd be all good, man. You got two wannabe general managers right here. We can even tell you who to hire as general manager. We'd like to see that guy from Carolina, Tursky. We'd like to see that guy come and Eric Tursky be up here and being the general manager for this team. The last thing I want to ask you is this. What do you think about Tortorella not being on the bench for these couple of games?
Well, I don't necessarily have a problem with him being up in the box with Danny Briere. The season's over. We all know that. And with a new general manager in the ranks there, I believe it was well thought out to sit up there together, watch the game, talk it out, and go over who's going to stay, who's going to go, what do they see for the future? Because when I was attending games and stuff, even as early as last year, last season when Danny Briere got appointed, you saw changes. You saw guys, the injured players, would just be sitting around playing on their phones before, during the game. And you would see if the Phantoms weren't playing that night, they would have young guys up there watching the games with developmental coaches. Once Danny Briere came in, they would be discussing. Even back then, there was slight changes coming in. So, I think it's very nice for a change that, management and the coaching may be on the same page. But as far as him not being on the bench to sit in the locker room and watch the game, like he did the other, I don't know about that. And letting their coaches really get to it, and have a shot. I don't know. That's what you do in preseason games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm
I
with
don't
you
know.
on that. That's what you get the opportunity for your coaching staff to learn how to be a head coach. Um, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be using the regular season for that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm okay with the coach sitting up with the interim general manager as a purposeful thing, but I'm not for the coach just sitting out just to give somebody experience. No, see, you want to give somebody experience, then unfortunately they have to get the job to get that experience.
Yeah.
There's nobody going to hire a coach and go, well, he did coach the Flyers for those 3 games there back in 2023, and
Yeah.
they did win 2 of those games. So, all right, we'll hire him as a head coach.
Uh, yeah,
But you know
yeah.
what
And
I'm
then
saying, right?
yeah, but I mean, you look at football, and I can get that different perspective from watching the game. Like, offensive coordinators do sometimes. They'll sit up top, especially in
I'm
college.
with you.
They'll sit up there and get a better eye view of things and get a different
Plus,
perspective.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely not some of the stuff he's pulling now. I don't know. Call me crazy, but you're getting paid millions of dollars to be the
be the
coach and
coach. You should be
be the
behind the
coach.
bench, right? Be the coach. Look, I get it when you want to try to sit up there with the general manager and talk about players and development and things like that. Then spin it like that, but don't spin it like you're giving your lower coaches experience. Nah, I don't need Rocky Thompson back there
Mhm.
being the head coach because he can't even be the power play anyway.
Mhm.
With that being said, Lance did just release another great prospect watch article. You should go to the SteelFlyers.com website and check that out. Also, if you're not paying attention to the Frozen Four right now, you really should be. It's on the Sporting Network that we're not going to mention, but it's on that sporting network, and I highly recommend that you put your eyeballs on it and check that out, man. There's a lot of prospects. There's some first round picks that are, that are playing Minnesota's onto the Frozen Four to the final. You know what I mean? They're just waiting for the winner of Michigan and Quinnipiac, and then that'll be that. And that championship game is going to happen on Saturday. So
Right.
very excited
Yeah.
about that. You know
Yeah,
what I
there's some
mean?
good hockey. There's some good hockey all around Frozen Four. That
There's
was a great game tonight.
I
There's a good
know.
game going on right now as we film this, and the CHL playoffs are going on. A lot of good hockey. Is that article I just wrote really gives you a rundown on some of that. There's Flyers prospects in all of these games, so go check it out and do some homework on some of these prospects before they come up because it won't be long.
No, it won't. And the draft will be coming here before you know it as well, too. So with that, Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can get you, where we can find you?
Sure, you can catch all my articles on SteelFlyers.com. You can catch this show as well as our Prospect Watch show there as well. You can check us out on YouTube, any podcasting audio platform that you can think of. And you can catch my stuff on any Flyers groups or anything like that on Facebook as well. My Twitter handle is LanceGreen39.
For sure, for sure. You got to go to the SteelFlyers.com website and check out the cool T-shirts. Get them in time for summer because, you want to look cool with your good, great swag. $25 plus shipping and handling, and that'll be in your pocket. Got to go check out the store at SteelFlyers.com/shop. Hey, you also got to check out the Prospect Watch show and the Hockey Writers Ink show and all the great shows at the SteelFlyers.com website. We really appreciate all your support and really thank you for everything that you do, especially Spreaker, for allowing us to be on all those great podcasting platforms. All you have to do is type in Hockey Writers Ink, and our name will come up, and you just hit the like and subscribe and give us 5 stars, and that'll help us get up there with all the Philadelphia Flyer podcasts. So we thank you very much for watching and checking us out. We'll catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Ink. See you later, guys.
See you guys.